Someone is refreshed. Are you? Now what?
Hi.
Yeah.
I'll make this nice and short. I'd like to talk about my reaction to things, and so when maybe someone verbalizes something to me and how I react in my body and start to shut down, for example. You know, a lot of people have said to me, you know, over the years, you know, you don't smile much, and that really frustrates me. And maybe I start thinking, maybe I overthink too much, when in moments I know that I'm really happy. So, I guess my question is, how do I learn to control my overthinking and going into the stories, because they seem so rapid sometimes?
Well, we don't think that there's a better topic for this point in our conversation than reaction, because that is in fact the reason that so many of you don't offer the vibration that you mean to steadily. And we cannot talk about reaction without talking about law of attraction, because your reaction is because of law of attraction. So it feels to you like what you're reacting to is a circumstance, or maybe what someone said, that you're reacting to the condition. But really what you're reacting to is your vibrational habit that caused the condition. And so what we would like you to do is to learn to react to the vibration before it's a condition. In other words, we want you to react. It's like if you're driving and the bumps on the road let you know that you're going off the road into the ditch. We want you to react from the information. And so getting yourself in alignment is about reaction, isn't it? It's about using your guidance system. How could anyone effectively use their guidance system if they're not reacting to the guidance or adjusting to the guidance? So when you talk about reacting, if you are talking about reacting to a comment or reacting to a situation, we want to say it's natural that you would, it's just a little too late, because once it has come so far that you're having that experience, of course, then the reaction becomes part of your experience. So it really is about catching it earlier. It's about caring about the way you feel and catching it as early as you can. Yes?
I've been using meditation as a practice for...
That's a really good way to practice a vibration.
How do I tell the difference, you know, between that gut feeling and that head and those different thoughts that are coming in on maybe a decision to make or something to go for?
We've been talking a lot about inspiration, but we want to remind you all here today that that feeling of inspiration is that feeling of being called. It's really a feeling of momentum. So you can be inspired from the receptive mode, from the receiving mode, from source, or you could be inspired from your resistant mode, from trouble. In other words, sometimes if someone is behaving in a way that causes a reaction to you, you feel like responding in the way you do, and so you are inspired, you might say. You just want to be aware of from what vibrational stance the inspiration is coming. You see what we're getting at? So there is no way around this other than to consciously acknowledge what the receiving mode feels like. Compliment yourself when you are there. Acknowledge the benefit of being there, not just because of the results that happen, but because of how good it feels along the way. And before you know it, you just become less willing to think the thoughts that will eventually lead to the more unwanted experience. It really is about practicing it. But we've never known anyone who was successful at shifting their vibration who did not understand vibrational basis of things. Almost everyone in your world is reacting to situations. So it's just a reaction to this and a reaction to this and a reaction to this. And we want you to realize that you didn't come as a reactor, you came as a creator. And so what you're wanting to do is, first thing in the morning, before there has been anything really for you to react to, do your best through meditation is a really good way to tune in to who you really are. And then after you've tuned into who you really are, then you can begin reacting to the impulses that are coming from that. Such a good word. We haven't talked about reaction in this context with much depth. Is it of value to you? Can you feel it?
Awareness has been something which is built over time as my frequency has changed and as I've done more meditation practices. And oftentimes now I may react and I'll go, damn it, I knew I should have caught it then. How can we, is there any strategies or anything that we can implement to be able to catch things quicker?
Yeah, acknowledging that you didn't catch it quicker is a good step in queuing yourself up to be ready earlier. But we want to insert another word into this conversation so that you can look at this in a different way. Let's use an example, not necessarily one that you're offering, where someone is suing you or negatively affecting you in some way, and you have a reaction about that. What we would like to say is that really what it is a continuation of a vibration. The things that are manifesting in your experience are actually reactions to a vibration that you've got going on. So in a world of law of attraction, isn't everything a reaction? Everything's a reaction to the vibration that you've got going on. That's really important to acknowledge. Can you feel how important that is? So in this continuum of reactions, you just got to decide, to what do you want to react? And what vibration do you want to practice to which you know the universe will respond or react? And so someone sort of has to break the evil cycle. We're being playful with that word, because otherwise it's just a chain of pain. And someone has to decide, wait a minute, I'm not going to go the way of this momentum. I'm going to do something else, but I can't do it right now because the momentum is taking me. So I'm just going to take a hiatus from this conversation or from this topic. And I'm going to focus upon the things where my reaction and the universe's reaction to my reaction is what I want it to be. So let's not condemn reaction. Let's call it a natural consequence of the vibrational universe in which we are all focused. And instead, let's just talk about getting better at focusing and better at sending a signal to which the universe is going to react. And just be playful about it. That's really important. Esther started playing a game with herself where when wonderful things would happen, she would say, I did that. And when not wonderful things would happen, she would say, I did that too. Because there's something so empowering about accepting that you are doing it all and the universe is reacting to you. Now it's fair to say, yeah, but I reacted to something else before I was offering a vibration that the universe was reacting to. And we say, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So your questions are so important, because you're saying, so how can I stop being that reactor? How can I change the vibration? We say, you just got to practice, and what's at the root of that is really caring how you feel. Finally, once and for all, not being willing to put up with negative emotions even if they're not that strong. Most of you put up with stuff until it gets really big, and then you react in a stronger way. In other words, I'm just not going to put up with that anymore. Well, you could have had softer, subtler reactions all the way along that would have been less impactful for your experience. But it's all good, isn't it? Really? Isn't it all good? Isn't it all part of the process? Don't you kind of like figuring things out as you go? And so maybe the strongest thing that we'd like to say to you is, if you can resist the temptation to beat up on yourself about things and just say, well, this is good, or I needed that, or that was good clarification for me, or I'm glad that happened because now I understand this, or now I've put more into my vortex, or. In other words, just find a way of making peace with yourself. Do everything you can to make yourself feel better about yourself.
Is that the same when fear arises and it takes over?
Doesn't matter what it is. Fear is just a stronger momentum. Fear as opposed to frustration, or fear as opposed to even overwhelmment. fear is an indicator of a stronger discord, which could mean some different things. It usually means this really matters to you and you're in opposition to it. And it also usually means that you've been practicing the vibration and you've allowed the momentum to become quite strong. That usually means that you could have stopped it at many opportunities at an earlier time. But there's a lot of justifying that almost everyone does about why you didn't. And usually it's just because you didn't take the time or because you're too busy. That's a big factor for so many of you. You get yourself so task-oriented and so time-sensitively task-oriented that you don't feel like you have the luxury of time to process things or to find a better thought. But you can soothe that a lot with a very small habit. And that is, if we were standing in your physical shoes, the first thing in the morning, we would decide before we sleep even, that in the morning we're going to get this day off in a more deliberate vibrational pattern. And we would wake up, drink and eat something, brush your teeth and wash your face and get yourself feeling comfortable. And then we would sit and quiet our mind for 15 minutes until any resistant vibration is no longer pressing. And then we would set forth gentle intentions about how we want to feel for this day. Esther will write things. We encouraged her some months ago to just pick one emotion that you really enjoy and focus on it for maybe as much as 5 minutes after you've meditated. And so Esther started out with the word fun. Just focused on fun and just really said the word fun until the feeling of fun sort of began coming over her. And what she began to notice is that after a day or two or three of spending about 5 minutes just focused upon the idea of fun things would occur to her, and she started scheduling more fun things to do for herself or for herself with others, just more fun things. And then once she had found the fun of that, then the word that she chose was clarity. I like the feeling of clarity. And in order to really amplify how nice the feeling of clarity is, she put it up against the feeling of confusion. And she played that game, confused or clear-minded. And there was something about that feeling of confusion. And then just to make sure that she was focusing it the way she meant to, she thought about that foggy feeling or that unfocused feeling where, what did I do with my keys, or where is my phone, or what have I done with something? And then she thought, clarity. I know where my keys are. I know where I've put them. I know where my phone is. And then after a while it went further, that feeling of being in the right place at the right time, and the timing of saying something just right, and the meeting of other people who were there, and the parlaying of the idea up and up and up and up and up, till that feeling of clarity became sort of an intoxicating addiction, one that she almost was not willing to leave her room until she was sure that she had accomplished the feeling of clarity. And even though oftentimes she left her bedroom where she had been meditating and doing her processes before she had accomplished the feeling of clarity, because the feeling of clarity is a reaction to some things, isn't it? But just playing that game, she started noticing how clear she was, how easy the day unfolded, how good her timing was, how many things rendezvoused with her, and she knew that this process was working for her, you see. Jerry and Esther have a friend who is a therapist. She has lots of credentials, and she counseled, or at that time was counseling, quite a few people. And we were talking about the idea of scripting, which is like telling the story the way you want it to be, putting the components in it the way you like it. I did this and it felt like this, and then I did this and it felt like this. So this woman had some people who she was assisting, one of them her son, who is a really good carpenter. He makes finished furniture. He was the best around, but he didn't have any business. And so she just began focusing on him and thinking about his success, because it was pleasurable to do, much more pleasurable than reacting to his reality.